purpose of my talk today is to honor this gentleman, Joel Allen McNeil. This is him at 24 years old in Iraq. And I'll tell you what, I want to give you at least a short story so you know the background of why I'm here today. My son at 24 went over to Iraq, and he spent a year's tour there in the Army. His MOS was Hollister cannons. He was boots on the ground, and he did an awesome job. Now, the problem being is that he super wanted to really work with his country and protect his family, and he did a great job. And as a result, what ended up happening is that he and his unit, towards the end of his tour, came upon a suicide bomber. Now, that suicide bomber happened to be the same age as his son back home. So my son ended up coming back from Iraq with PTS and moral injury. And what they ended up doing is they ended up seeing him, medicating him, training him for Afghanistan, and sending him back over to Afghanistan. He had another year's tour there. And while he was there, him and his unit was hit by an IED, and he suffered a traumatic brain injury. He became a sergeant. He really did a good job. But when he came back, he had PTS. He had traumatic brain injury. He had moral injury. The VA gave him a lot of medications, and he spent 3 years trying to reintegrate back into our society out at Fort Carson. In that 3 years, they gave him ECT treatments. They did everything they could to really help him. But he started self-medicating. His wife ended up going back and visiting her folks. And for the last 3 months of his life, he would not see anyone. He self-isolated. We couldn't get him to come here. He wouldn't let us come there. He wouldn't do anything. So January 14th, 2014, my son took a VA medication and he left this world. He completed suicide. And my life and my family's life changed. You can go on to the next slide. Now I'm going to share with you basically how I have dealt with and I'm still dealing with suicide. Suicide is not for the faint of heart. There are many of us that I have met over the past 6 years and 4 months who have gone through this. I have joined a club that I did not want to join, but I have a lot of good, wonderful resources who are helping me. Now, I want to share a story of when I found out about Joel and when I had to go to Colorado Springs and meet my daughter-in-law and really try to help pull things together. Because if you're out of the military for more than 3 months, because he was medically retired, DOD doesn't help you. So we had to go through a lot of things. So I took the 14-hour drive to Colorado Springs from here. And during that time, I did a lot of thinking. And my thinking was this isn't happening. This can't be happening. Well, I'm going to get there and Joel's going to be there and this is all going to be a tremendous joke. But you know what? I got there. I walked into his apartment and I realized, I turned to my husband and I collapsed. I said, he's not here. This is real. I don't want this to be. So that was the beginning. That was the beginning, and I had to pull myself together because I am the matriarch of my family. And I had to say, okay, what is it that I can do? Well, when we got to Joel's apartment, we went through and saw how he had been living, and he had been going to a behavioral facility, and he had been doing some writing. And I basically found one of his writings, and I'm going to share that with you, and I'm going to read it because the reason I'm going to read it is because this really shares who he is and why I continue to do what I do to honor him. It's called Joel's Poem, and for any of you who are Vietnam War veterans out there, there is some wording in there that I don't like, but these are his words, and I'm going to read them. This is called Joel's Poem. I've been called many things: hero, murderer, and baby killer. And I take it all in stride, but I fight so you can voice your opinion, even if it means I died. But I don't want to be remembered for any of the above. I want to be remembered for being the best father, husband, son, and brother to the family that I love. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Joel Allen McNeil. Now, what's interesting is this. My son was a good man. He just succumbed to things that people right now, soldiers who are coming back, reintegrating, are not being able to overcome. And that's why we're doing what we're doing today. Now, the one thing that I was able to do is I was able to work with an organization called TAPS. And after I had left Colorado Springs and gone back home and tried to pull things together, that's one of the first places I called. And they gave me a phone number that got me into a program called Give an Hour. And I met a counselor who worked with me, and she told me a story because I said, I want to get out there, I want to do something, you know, this can't happen to anybody else, let me go. Okay, those of you who know me know that if I set my mind to something, I do it. But what my counselor told me was this. She said, Wendy, I want you to imagine a brick wall in front of you, and I want you to scream as loud as you can and tell me how many people hear you. I said, well, probably not too many. She said, okay, now what I want you to do is I want you to go through this grief counseling, and I want you to take those bricks down one by one until you're standing on them. And once you're standing on them, then I want you to shout, and I want you to tell me how many people can hear you. And I said, probably quite a few. Bingo. That's what I've done. I've done that for the last 5 years, 5.5 years. And I'm continuing to do it because I'll tell you what, I've got my ups and downs. I get sad, you know, and I also have a mission, and that has helped me also. Now, everybody deals with grief in a different way. I deal with it in my own way. You all deal with it in your way. My family deals with it in their way. All my family is spread out all over the country. I've got grandchild in Wisconsin. I've got grandchildren in Georgia. I've got grandchildren in Indiana, and I'm here. So I embrace them all, and I also listen to them all. But can you go to the next slide then, please? This was the last picture. This was the last time I saw Joel. And that was in September of 2013, and that was his new baby. So his new baby was 4 months old when he died. So his mom has pictures and everything around, so he knows who his dad is. He also has two older children. The oldest one is graduating this year. And how he deals with his grief is he says, Grandma, I look forward, I don't look back. That's how he's dealing with it. The granddaughter wants to go join her dad. So she has actually been in and out of behaviorals, and she has tried to commit suicide a number of times, and we're working with her. So again, everybody deals with things their own way. And the thing is, with family, you gotta let them know you love them, and you have to give them resources. I've given my grandchildren many TAPS resources, and they've also gone to the TAPS organization for children, and they've had mentors. I myself have a mentor now. I call her, or she calls me every month. So that's another resource. My daughter, that was her only brother. She wears his dog tags every day. She has not taken them off since my son died. And she says goodnight to her brother every night. That's how she deals with it. I've gotten her in touch with a sibling at TAPS that is working with her, and they are, this sibling lost her brother also, so they're communicating too. So there's so many things in my family that I would love to take the pain away for them. And I know that I can't. I know though that I can give them things that will help them, which I will share with you as we move forward. So go to the next slide, Tom. I had to do something bigger than myself to really move forward and not remain in my grief. I'm still grieving, but one of the biggest things that I advocate is doing something bigger than yourself. I don't care how hard it is, but if it's in your heart, do it. I don't care what other people tell you, just do it. And for me, it's one person at a time. One person at a time. The ripple effect, helping veterans and families heal. Every day, I do something. I might not be a huge organization, but that's okay, because I'm one mom out there who is determined to stop suicide one person at a time. And that's what I'm doing for me. Excuse me, and my son. Next slide, please. Excuse me. These are resources. And I spelled tragedy wrong. Sorry, folks, but I was going to point it out. TAPS is Tragedy Assisted Programs for Survivors. You call that 800 number, they're there 24 hours. I love the woman who started it, and I've met many, excuse me, many wonderful people. And I have healed. My grandkids have been helped with computers for homeschooling, with different things, with counseling, a lot of different things that they have helped with. I've also discovered the West Valley Gold Star Mothers. And we have a chapter in the West Valley, and there are 4 chapters across the state. And we do things that help veterans also. So, and I get to work with my Gold Star moms. PHPH is Parents Helping Parents Heal. That's another organization that it's not all military, but it's all parents that have lost a child. And we get together and we talk and we cry and we tell stories. And this is basically what we do to help ourselves heal. This is part of the grief process. And this is how we go on. This is what we do to move forward. The grief counseling, this is my grief counselor who works with military and also works with others. So I put her number there, and you're more than welcome to call her. And then me. I know a lot of great organizations, and a lot of them are on this call. And I'll tell you what, they do good work. And I love collaborating with them because we can't do this by ourselves. I am one person, but we as a collective can really make a difference. And so these are just some of the resources. If you want more, please call me, email me. I'd be really glad to talk to you. Next slide, please. This is my son. My son is no longer here. I'm going to ask you to do something. Every one of you, I want you to help me stop suicide. I want you to listen to veteran stories. I mean, really listen. Hear what they need and help them achieve it. Help them make another choice. My son, there was nobody around him when he died. He died alone. I don't want that to happen to anyone else. I don't want veterans to slip through the cracks. So please, talk to the veterans, talk to their families, really help them. I want you to join us here at Southwest Veterans Chamber of Commerce with all the other organizations who are doing what we need to do to stop suicide among our veterans. And I really pray that we can all spread the word, that we can make that ripple, that we can really make that ripple. And I'm doing it here to honor this young man because I never want him forgotten. And he never will be forgotten as long as each one of us goes out there and helps others.